Yo, this is MegaManFan, and you need to rock and or roll on over to Mr. MegaManFan's YouTube channel, because it's all that rush to make it happen. Peace!
Well, Mega Maniacs, I did promise a part 2 last week, so here it is, the games that we didn't get to on part 1, starting with Time Stalkers for the Dreamcast, also known as Climax Landers in Japan. Now, I'll explain a little bit of this from the Wikipedia entry because I have to be perfectly honest that I had no experience with this game before I found it at Ye Local Gaming Store. Time Stalkers is an RPG with party members consisting of classic Climax characters. Well, that means nothing to me because I don't know what that means, so let me look at Climax Entertainment's website. Oh, okay. When they say crossover characters, they mean games like Shining in the Darkness, Shining Force, Landstalker, let's see what else. Kingdom of Paradise, Dark Savior, Felony 1179, Lady Stalker. I guess any of those games could qualify, and I am familiar with some of those games, like Shining in the Darkness, so very interesting. This says the title boasts an impressive catalog of VMU minigames, but I didn't have a VMU with fresh batteries in it, so I wasn't able to test out that function. The battle system combines RTS and turn-based, out-of-phase situational combat. The enemies appear on screen and transition to individual arrangements. There are apparently 30 to 60 hours of gameplay and multiple endings, and if these opening cutscenes are any indication, I can see why. There's about 6 minutes of stuff at the beginning of Time Stalkers, and no matter what button you push on your Dreamcast controller, you can't skip it. Start does nothing, the triggers do nothing, none of the action buttons do anything, moving the D-pad obviously doesn't help you at all. You just have to sit through it, so I did you all a solid here and I cut out about 3 minutes of tedium where the protagonist, who is named Sword, goes through a battle with an unknown enemy outside a creepy looking castle, who then runs away, and Sword gives chase to find out where he went. In the process of doing that, he wanders up the stairs of this castle, walks into a library, finds a book on the table, and curiosity getting the better of him, he opens the book and thinks there's nothing in it or on it or whatever, and then this light emerges from it as he's walking away. There's a blinding flash of light. He was blinded by the light. And then he's revved up into who knows what in the middle of the night. Now, this game got, quote, mixed to negative reviews, according to the Wikipedia entry. Pete Bartolo of GameSpot called it traditional with ugly graphics. I don't know if I'd use the word ugly, but I would call it PlayStation 1 era graphics. The Dreamcast could do as good or slightly better if it was optimized and worked on to the nth degree, so this is not showing off what it's actually capable of, and it is kind of janky to play, and it's a little frustrating that in this initial room that I'm in, I can't seem to pick up any of the items, even though there are swords and barrels and chests and all sorts of things. All I can do is walk around and move to the next area of the game. So he advised gamers to get the vastly superior Evolution, the World of Sacred device, and gave the game 5.2 out of 10. IGN gave it 6.5, but complained of the concise dialogue and short length. A game that takes 60 hours to complete is not one that I would consider short. Maybe it's not long by like Final Fantasy standards, but it's definitely going to take you more than a few days to finish a 60-hour game. Even if you marathoned it and did it without sleeping around the clock, that would take you 2.5 days. So I really can't describe a game that long as being too short. Jeff Lundgren reviewed the Dreamcast version, gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and said, "It ain't bad, but the Dreamcast RPG audience needs more than this generic fix." I guess I don't know about that, because I could see myself spending more time with it, but I could also see myself spending less time with it. There's nothing here that just compels me and overwhelms me and says, "Oh my gosh, this is a classic." But it is a Dreamcast game that I didn't have prior to last week's Retro Hunting Adventures, so on that basis alone, it is entirely worth it. Next up we have Robots for the GameCube, based, I will presume, upon the movie of the same name, which I've never actually seen from start to finish. I've seen snippets of it a couple of times, but never sat down and watched the whole thing. It came out in 2005, and the voices were Ewan McGregor, who I just saw in Birds of Prey as the Black Mask, Robin Williams, who of course is no longer with us, may he rest in peace, Greg Kinnear, Halle Berry, Mel Brooks, Jim Broadbent, Amanda Bynes, and Drew Carey. Quite the all-star cast for this movie. It was a big success at the box office, too. Grossed $260 million on a $75 million budget. And unlike Time Stalkers, it got generally positive reviews from critics. Although, right now at the start of the game, it just seems like your average collect-a-thon. It's like a Lego game where you see the Lego pieces on the ground and you run around picking them up. Not saying that's bad, just saying the term generic that was used to describe Time Stalkers could fit what I'm doing here. This is a generic 3D pick up all the things game. It's a Banjo-Kazooie style game. It's a Mario 64 style game. There's nothing wrong with those games. There's just nothing that you haven't seen before playing those kind of games. And now it's going to teach me all the mechanics, like, here's how you double jump. Here's how you cling to a ledge. Here's how you this. Here's how you that. I mean, it's nice that it steps you through everything, but if you've played any of these games before, you hardly need to have it explained. It's going to be pretty obvious to you what to do and how to do it, especially on a simplified controller like the GameCube, where the A button is humongous and you use it to do damn near everything that you're going to do. So, I would say Robots is worth exploring further. I wouldn't say it breaks the mold or does anything truly innovative or unique, but just from this quick gameplay for the Retro Hunting Adventures, I don't feel like it's a terrible piece of shit. Now then, we move on to the final game that I picked up in last week's episode, and that would be The Sims. Now, I've got to be honest here, unlike Clint from LGR, I'm not really that into The Sims. This one, I'm more picked up out of the sheer curiosity factor of the fact that I had The Sims Bustin' Loose and The Sims 2, but somehow never managed to have the original game. And my cat seems to wonder how that's possible as well. If you can hear Tango making a fit in the background. What is the matter, buddy? I mean, I cleaned his litter. I gave him treats. I've petted him. I don't know what it is that he wants, but he's making more noise than a Sim speaking Simlish, and he is tearing across the room like a bat out of hell. So maybe it's just the sound of my voice doing the voiceover that's got him all worked up. The Sims series started in February of 2000, and according to Wikipedia, the last release was November of 2019. So this is a long-running, ongoing series. And the idea is you create these characters and put them in a virtual environment, and then you control every little aspect of their lives. But to me, if I'm going to do that, I'd rather do it in an RPG or an Animal Crossing game. So The Sims is alright if you like that stuff. It's just not my cup of tea.